This is part 2 of my conversation with Rabbi Pesach in Brighton. He's going to tell me about the origins and what Chabad is.
Okay, so Chabad is a movement within Judaism. It's a subdivision of the Hasidic movement. Now you have to know a little bit about the history of Hasidism. It was a movement which was founded in the middle of the 18th century by a man called Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov. And basically he emphasized certain aspects which he felt, certain aspects of Jewish observance and Jewish lifestyle and Jewish attitudes, which he felt had somehow been pushed aside, that he felt that the time now was ripe to re-emphasize these. And primarily what they were, number one, is that every Jew, whoever they may be, no matter how learned or how observant or how not learned or how non-observant, is part of a very big picture, the soul connection with God Almighty himself. And there is no Jew, therefore, who should be left behind, who should feel disenfranchised, who should feel second class. We all, on a certain level, exactly the same. To put it simply, we all one big happy family with one big major daddy. Okay? And that's now you might think, well, of course that everybody knows that, but over a period of time and for numerous reasons, that was not emphasized so much. What was emphasized more was one's learning, how learned a person was, how committed you were. But don't forget, in Europe in that time, 17th, 18th century, there was a huge amount of poverty, which in itself meant that a lot of people were unable, right, to go and study. Now, you might think that Jews are the people of the book. That's absolutely true. But in those very, very difficult and challenging, not only financial restrictions, but also restrictions placed upon them by the non-Jews, the persecutions, the spiritual state of the Jewish people was not marvelous. A lot of ignorance, believe it or not. And that ignorance bred to people feeling outsiders, you know. As indeed today, there's a lot of similarities. Many people feel, oh, you know, I can't go to the synagogue or I can't go to the rabbi because I can't read Hebrew and there's inhibitions and I don't want to be shown up. Very, very similar. The Baal Shem Tov came along and he turned that notion upside down and said, hang on a moment, that's not what it's all about. When the Jewish people stood at Sinai and got the Torah, God didn't say, I'll give the Torah to A, B, and C, but I won't give it to X, Y, and Z. No. Everybody was included. Everybody on the same equal playing field, okay? So the Baal Shem Tov didn't introduce something which was new. He just said, hang on, guys, this is the time now that we have to emphasize that. That was number one. Number two, which was equally important, was the need to understand our purpose, to understand why we do certain things, to understand, on whichever level one could. Number three was the importance to be happy. And that's why you always see pictures of Hasidim dancing and maybe making a chaim. So why is that? Well, today, again, the language is very similar to our day language. When a person is unhappy, or God forbid, even worse, on a level of depression, you don't produce anything. When a person has the self-confidence and the person has self-pride, the world's your oyster. I know oysters are not kosher, but I'll mention that. I'll mention it. So on a spiritual level, that's what the Baal Shem Tov said. And therefore, even if it means fake it until you make it, which means that, you might not feel like that, but get up and do dancing, or perhaps even make a l'chaim on a little bit of wine or vodka, whatever it is. If that helps you going, that should be it. So that was the Baal Shem Tov. But then from the Baal Shem Tov, after his passing, the movement started developing because there were individuals who were his disciples who themselves understood his teachings from their own personal perspective, okay? And one such person was a man called Rabbi Shneir Zalman of Liadi. He was known by Lubavitch Chabad as the Alter Rebbe, the old rabbi. right?
Is that the one whose photographs
Well,
are everywhere?
No, that's the one. If you want to, well, you can see his picture behind me over there, right? Okay. Well, I don't know. On the right-hand side.
Oh.
On the right-hand side, and that is the Alter Rebbe. Yes.
And who's this one? Because I see him everywhere.
So he's the last Lubavitcher Rebbe, the most recent.
Yes, because I see his picture.
Exactly.
I've seen it in Athens. I've seen it in, Lithuania, Vilnius.
Correct. Okay. So
and in Cartagena. I've just come
wherever.
back from Cartagena. I went to Purim.
Okay, there you go.
In Cartagena.
Right. So you get an idea.
Yeah.
And he developed the Chabad. Now Chabad is an acronym of 3 Hebrew words. Chochmah, Bina, and Das.
What does that mean?
So Chochmah is the Ch in Chabad, Bina is the B, and Das is the D, Chabad. Okay? Now these 3 words are based upon a Kabbalistic analysis of the human condition. Now, if we can look at ourselves, there are 3 intellectual aspects to our being, and then there are 7 emotional aspects to our being. And the Chabad means wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. So that was the basis of his philosophy, that in order for us to be connected to our Jewish roots, we have to internalize our Jewish understanding of our Judaism, of what our souls are, what is God, what is the purpose of life. Very important questions, theological and philosophical questions. But that was the crux of what he maintained would sustain Jewish life, and his philosophy has borne out very well, because today people want to know why. People don't want to just be told, do this, do that, eat kosher, put your tefillin on. Okay, that's very nice. There are some people who are prepared to accept it. But I want to know why. I want to know what's the purpose of it. If I put my tefillin on, or I eat matzah, well, what effect does it have on me, on God, on the world? You know? And that's what he demanded of his disciples, and he perfected this theology, this philosophy, and that's where the Chabad comes from. Now, Lubavitch was a name in a town in Russia, in White Russia. It's still there today, Lubavitchi. I was there with a group of people, about 450 of us. We went, in fact, it's almost 2 years ago.
In Poland?
No, it's actually in White Russia.
White Russia?
White Russia. It's in the area of Smolensk.
Was this what was Imperial Russia?
Yes. So today it's part of Russia.
Why do they call it White Russia?
No, because White Russia was a region. It was called White Russia. I don't know why they called it White Russia, but it was part of a region. A lot of Jews, the Pale of Settlement.
Yeah, the Pale of Settlement.
So it was all in that area, and that's where Lubavitch was established for over 100 years in this town. Lubavitch actually means the town of brotherly love. Luba. Do you know anything about Russian? What does Luba mean?
I've heard of it.
Right, so Luba is love apparently, and Vich is sons or son of, I don't know what it is. That's where you get all the names. So that's where Chabad, Lubavitch are synonymous, and that's where the name comes from.
Oh, fascinating, yes. Do you want to continue in part 3, or shall we end there?
Well, let's end here.
Okay. Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.